this time. Oh, man. Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and we are ready to rock and roll. Finally, a little bit of a challenging start tonight. But we are live on Facebook and YouTube. This is our Sunday night live stream show here at Hubbard's Marina. And tonight we've got a special show lined up for you because we've got Captain Brian, the man. What's up, Brian?
Hey, D.
We got Captain Brian in studio with us tonight. Captain Brian Holland is our deep water extraordinaire slash mechanic genius slash, I don't know, you wear a lot of hats, Brian. You wear a lot of hats. What don't you do? You don't do live shows.
I don't do live shows.
Touche. Well,
that's true.
We've got a special show lined up for you tonight, guys, because we were able to snag Captain Brian in studio. So it's going to be a great time tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We had a little bit of a rocky start, but we were able to overcome our technical difficulties, thankfully. And we are live and just about ready to start here in a minute. While you're waiting, guys, don't forget to comment where you're watching from on YouTube, on Facebook. Make sure to comment where you're watching from. And then if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to like our page, guys. Make sure you like the page if you're watching on Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. We will be getting started on this show very shortly. If you want a chance to win one of those free fishing trips tonight, guys, don't forget you got to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. So go to facebook.com, go to Hubbard's Marina, find that live video, and then comment one time, and you're eligible to win the free trips. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook page. You can watch anywhere the show is playing, but you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win those free fishing trips. We're going to be giving away a 5-hour half day for 2 people. We're going to be giving away a 10-hour all day for 2 people. And we're going to be giving away a 39-hour fishing trip for 1 person. So make sure to check out that Hubbard's Marina Facebook video and comment at least one time. So that way you're eligible for a chance to win one of those free trips, because you don't want to miss out on one of those free trip giveaways. Tonight we're going to be talking to Captain Brian a little bit about deep sea offshore fishing. And we want to make sure you guys have some questions lined up. If you have a question that you want answered during the show, that phone number in the upper right-hand corner, 727-393-1947. That is the phone number in the upper right-hand corner you want to make sure to use to get a chance to win, or a chance for your questions to be answered live during the show. So text in to that phone number in the upper right-hand corner if you have a question you want answered live during the show. You're welcome to comment all you want, guys, but we don't always get to the comments live during the show. We get to your text, though, and if we miss your text live during the show, we'll make sure to get to it after. Thanks, Chad Peterson and Jason Kraus, for sending some stars, getting the show started up. Oh, Michelle Estock as well. John Morris, all sending some stars tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. Captain Brian, the stars are basically monetary support. So these people are so excited that you're on the show tonight. They're sending their monetary support to us. Oh, look at all this. Richard Blazak and Stephanie Bertel. Lots of stars tonight. Thanks for coming, Brian. People love you.
Oh, geez, I don't know.
I texted Captain Brian today and I said, hey, will you do the show tonight? People have been asking to have you on the show. What'd you text back?
I hate people.
All I said was ha ha ha, and then he didn't text me back for like 3 hours. I was like, is that a yes, a no? Thanks, Chrissy Payne, Brad Wooten for sending some stars. Appreciate you guys. And with that, you ready to get the show on the road, Brian?
Yeah, whatever you need, D.
Let's get her going. How you guys doing? Again, Captain Dylan Hubbard at Hubbard's Marina. We got Captain Brian over here. Captain Brian is a deep water expert in my mind. I don't know. How long have you been fishing the Gulf of Mexico?
I started fishing in the Gulf in March of 1985.
Very
and
specific.
Been fishing for a living ever since.
March of 1980. I'm not good at math, so that's what?
35.
35 years. Wow, that's impressive. So you have done a little bit of everything fishing-wise. I've heard stories that you've told me about you fishing all the way down in the Yucatan. You've fished the Caribbean. You fished the Gulf of Mexico. You've done a little bit of everything, huh?
I fished quite a bit in mostly the Gulf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did a lot of grouper digging in the Gulf for 30 years.
Yeah.
And from as shallow as 50 feet of water out to 1,200 feet of water.
Yeah.
Been to Belize once, second largest barrier reef in the world. Not enough fish to support us, so we didn't stay there. 7 months in Nicaragua.
Wow.
Back in 95, I think.
Mm-hmm.
First ones down there after they quit fighting. They fought for 20 years. There was a lot of fish.
So that Nicaragua, I can't ever pronounce that country's name, but that trip was inspired basically because of the infighting there. They weren't fishing much, and then when they opened it up to the fishing, you went down there to capitalize on that.
Right, they
basically
were looking for money. They had to rebuild every road and bridge that they had in the country, so they were leasing permits. We grabbed a couple of permits and stayed out of the country for 7 months.
Wow. That's 7-month-long fishing adventure, huh? Well, very cool. So that was a brief history on Captain Brian, and he's done. You've done commercial fishing, charter fishing, party boat fishing. What else am I missing?
No, that's about right.
Yeah. So tonight we're gonna dig more into that. And again, if you guys have questions, make sure you text them to that phone number in the upper right-hand corner, right above Captain Brian's head. You'll see that phone number. So we're gonna get right into it tonight because I want to make sure we get to all those great questions that you guys are gonna have. So we're gonna start off like always, looking at some photos of what we've been catching and what we're seeing. Inshore right now, the bite has been pretty good despite this weather. A lot of black drum. That dirty water has them up and around the structures, the docks, bridges. Flounder right adjacent to those structures on the sandy bottom. Lots of redfish lately. The redfish bite has been incredible. Captain Mike Anderson of the Real Animals radio show was saying this Saturday when we talked to him about our fishing report, he was saying the redfish are jumping in the boat. The south shore of Tampa Bay, upper Tampa Bay, the north shore of Tampa Bay, around Fort DeSoto. We're seeing them around Johns Pass. They're everywhere. And there's still some snook biting. We're catching some snook in the morning around the dock. We're still seeing a few on the beach, but a lot of those snook are moving into the back bays. A lot of trout at night around the bridge lights. And the big story lately has been the sharks. We've been having some big sharks inside Johns Pass, and some people are catching them. So the sharks are thick right now along the beach pass and in the bays, and they're going to start moving out. It's that time of year. Water's cooling down. Did you do any commercial shark fishing?
I've done a little bit of commercial shark fishing back when
he does more than he lets on.
When they were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of big sharks in the Gulf.
Dinosaurs, like how big of sharks are we talking?
Hard to estimate, I guess. When you butcher the shark and put the carcass on ice and you'd save the fins and discard the head, it'd take 2 guys to pick up the head.
Whoa. That's a big shark.
Yeah. I used to have 3 or 4 sets of shark jaws, tiger sharks mostly, that you could drop over your shoulders.
Wow. I would not want to see a shark jaw that could fit over my shoulders. That would be a big animal. Holy moly. Well, let's talk a little bit about the nearshore and offshore fishing we've been seeing. This is the box from our 12-hour night snapper trip with Cat and Bobby.
Nice fish.
Yeah, they had a really good trip, man. They caught a nice pile of mangroves, some keeper red grouper, keeper gags, keeper scamps, cobia, almacos, lanes, yellowtails, vermilions, some big grunts, or gray snapper. There's that big cobia. You can see the scamp and the gag in there.
They had some red groupers too, right?
Yeah, they had about 10 to 12 red groupers.
Nice,
so
for a night bite.
yeah.
Awesome.
Love it. And we were actually, Will was on the show 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about you and your red grouper theories, because we were saying how typically we don't catch a lot of red grouper at night. They're mostly a daytime bite, and he was referring to, and I've heard you talk about this too, about how the red grouper kind of scavenge during the day, and then at night they're kind of more holed up.
I've seen it, I've done a lot of fishing, and I've seen it, they act different at different times of the year, but I remember a couple of times catching them right on the edge of the hard bottom. You always want to fish the hard bottom for your reef fish, and we'd catch the red groupers on the hard bottom, and then it'd get to be after dark, and they weren't showing up on the machine. That's like they weren't on the hard bottom anymore.
Yeah.
They were moving out into the sand at night and loading up on shrimps. And I didn't know that until we'd start catching them in the morning, and they'd spit out 7 shrimps on deck. They weren't on the rock at night. They were out on the softer bottom. I started chasing them out on the softer bottom after dark, and we did well.
So at night they scavenge more into that sandy area.
Yeah, they're bold. They'll get away from the cover.
I gotcha.
And getting fat on seafood.
Crustacean.
Yeah, on shellfish.
That sounds like a good way to spend the night. Well, we were talking about how at night we don't typically catch a lot of them, and that's probably why we're still targeting the hard bottom.
We're still on the hard bottom, yeah.
Yeah, we want that life, that biomass, and that's what we're targeting at night on those trips. So getting them at night might be more of a...
Get out close
function.
to the edge, or even way out on the edge.
A function of the friendly too, swinging across those areas. So if you're fishing a spot near the edge of that hard bottom,
especially if you're with Captain Bobby, because you're fishing a spot about that big around.
Yeah, one of his secret pinholes. Touche. Well, some more red grouper action from the Flying Hub 2. This was from the Jimmy charter a week or two ago or a week and a half or so ago with Captain Garrett. Just didn't get all those photos to you on the last show, so here's another good one. This is what's your nickname for Estelle?
Fish Hog.
Fish Hog, that's it. Yeah, that's Captain Brian. I think that's your nickname for a few people. So.
It's not really a nickname, but I was fishing right next to her one trip, and I pulled up a nice little yellowtail. I was like, "There's a nice yellowtail," and she catches an 8-pounder. Like, immediately.
Showed you up.
Yes, she did. Right now.
Yeah, so the Hub has been doing pretty good on those 10-hour all days, and they've been catching some nice hogfish. Here's another nice hogfish from Captain Pete's Thursday, 10-hour all day. Nice red grouper from that trip. Big mangrove from that 12-hour night snapper trip. Nice 12-hour night mangrove snapper. Keeper gag, Captain Pete on a 5-hour Hub charter. Gags are starting to bite a little bit better near shore. It's still very early, though. This is a 32-inch red grouper. Nice. Christina Fernandez caught this today on the Hub using a naked ball jig. Almost bent out the hook, but she was able to land it. And here is the Hub catch from today. So today was a little bit of an interesting day, to say the least. You can see the Hub did really well on their 10-hour all-day trip. But what was interesting to me is the Flying Hub 2 was out there in 150 to 180 foot of water, and they had a really tough morning bite. They were on big shows of fish, and all they could even get to chew was sharks in the morning. They ended up having to come inshore to about 120, 130 foot of water, and the bite started picking up.
A lot of it has to do with depth. Mm-hmm. And another quick thing is I've been out numerous times where you'll park on 3 big shows first thing in the morning, and you can't catch a cold. You move over to the hard piece of bottom that doesn't have the big show on it, and there's the fish. Sometimes they just don't want to be around all the bait.
Yeah.
But really, depth, when your buddy's catching them in 140 feet of water, you go to 140 feet of water.
Yeah. The depth is the trick.
The depth is the secret number.
Yeah.
It's not the spot, it's the depth.
And that's a lot of times why we share depth ranges. Like if we know the fish are biting good in a certain depth, we try to share as much information as we can, but we give a little bit of a depth range.
All the way to the bottom.
Yeah, so when I asked Captain Brian, where'd you catch him, what do you say?
Right there in the corner of the mouth.
How deep?
Over my head. Well, all the way to the bottom. Right in the middle of that big blue circle.
Well, which direction did you go?
West.
Always entertaining, the answers I get from Captain Brian asking about fishing reports. But as I was saying, the Hub did really well today in around 80 to about 120 foot of water. And the Flying Hub 2 didn't do so well in the morning out in deeper water. They finally shallowed up, started to catch some fish, drifting in shallower. And the Hub drifted all day long and did really well. And then the half-day trip in the morning didn't do well at all. They didn't have a breath of wind. Same thing with the Flying Hub 2. It was flat calm. No wind, no current. They were setting the anchor, and the boat was drifting up on the anchor.
That's the most aggravating thing, when
Yeah.
you can't get anchored on the fish.
Yep. So Richie was really frustrated and ended up running in shallower and did well in shallower.
And it's tough because once you go past the fish, it just takes forever.
Yeah.
You keep wanting to go a little deeper, and the anglers will push you
Yeah.
to go deeper. They think you always got to go deeper to get a better grade of fish, and that's not true.
It's not always true. And the same thing on the half day. Captain Bobby this morning tried anchoring up. Boat came right up on the anchor, started drifting. Boat wasn't even drifting in shallower, like a .01 drift speed.
100 feet an hour.
Yeah. So it was a painful 5-hour half day, and it was a really tough 12-hour extreme. But the 10-hour all day on the Hub did well. Again, has a lot to do with that depth, and might have been a little bit of current because Sal said they had a little bit of a drift speed, and that helped. So just got that lucky area.
Yeah, work it.
Yeah, and that's a great example of fishing. 3 boats offshore, 2 had tough time, 1 did really well.
Well, Sal's sneaky.
Yeah, another very experienced captain on the Hubbard's Marina team. We are blessed to have a great team for sure. And we still got some more photos here. I thought we were done. We were not. Some more of the Hub 10-hour all day. This was a big cobia from the 12-hour night snapper. A nice 12-hour night snapper stringer. The keeper gag from the 12-hour. There's our buddy Rob showing off a nice stringer of mangroves. What's that? 3, 6, looks like 7 mangroves and 2 big lanes. It's pretty nice.
It's Rob's typical catch.
Yeah.
He comes with us a lot. He doesn't let his skills get rusty.
He doesn't let his... And he can put down some beer while he's catching fish,
Yes,
too.
sir, boy.
That's an impressive part about it. Nice red grouper from the 12-hour extreme. Nice mangrove snapper, too. That's a fatty.
Yes, sir.
So those were some of the catches from our recent fishing trips. And I don't know if... Oh, that's on the wrong screen. I don't know if you guys were on... if you caught this on my personal Facebook today, but I wanted to share it because it's just that funny. So let's show you this video real quick. This is from our security cameras. This happened last night, Brian. So I came in this morning, the kayak was askew, and this is why.
Hang on 1 second.
So they were partying up at Hooters, and came down the stairs and got away from them a little bit. I came in, I was like, why is the kayak on the ground? And then I saw this, and I was like, oh, that is so worth it, me having to jack around and fix up the kayak. So it was too funny not to share, for sure. All right, and with that, we are going to get into some of your questions. One question that I have almost every week is about the dry dock. So wanted to get a dry dock update. I know the boat is officially out of the water.
Finally
Out of the water. We got some great video of the boat coming out of the water. We're putting that together now. Bob Harbison's going to make a little video. Josh is working on to put together a little video too. So going to have plenty of video of the boat coming out of the water. And now that it's out of the water, what's the plan?
Well, we got to clean everything.
Mm-hmm.
We got it out of the water on Friday, spent the rest of the day scrubbing voids.
Yeah.
You got to get all the water out, scrub them like you're going to paint them, get
Yeah.
them dry. Do that again tomorrow. We've got a little bit of welding to do, a couple little, we're wearing out our anchor chute and things that need attention. Coast Guard inspection Wednesday. We don't want to tear too much stuff apart.
Yep.
They'll find enough. So we'll have to fix what the Coast Guard finds, any deficiencies, and then we have our standard list of stuff that we always do. But every 2 years, the boat comes out of the water. It's a lot of work.
Keep them going.
And we give them a fresh paint job every 2 years.
Yeah.
That's at least a week's worth of prep.
Yep.
The guys already did most of the prep at the dock this last couple weeks. So she'll come out of there with brand new clean valves, and we just spent a ton on the motors, the 10,000 hour service on those big V12 Caterpillars.
And the coolest part about that is the smoking. We had really, really smoky, exhaust-laden motors, and now she's running clean.
Now it's running real clean.
Yeah, I mean, you still have the diesel smell. You can't get away from that. It's beautiful. I love it. But you don't have the diesel smell, the fog, the big
Yeah,
exhaust
there definitely
flames.
is. Well, we put 24 brand new injectors in. I know they cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, like $1,200 a piece.
Yeah, buddy. And clean the air boxes and the filters and the whole 10,000 hour service. So
Yeah.
they're good for another 10,000.
Yeah.
They'll be smoking again in about 9,500.
Not for a while, at least. All right, so with the dry dock update, we talked a little bit about... Next question is about Captain Brian's history. We talked a little bit about that. Is there anything we missed?
No.
Such a private person. What is your favorite fish to target?
I like to, since I've been with Hubbard's, going on 10 years now, I really got excited about chasing the mangrove snappers, but I still like to target the gag groupers.
Yeah.
And we've got some spots where we will catch mangroves here all night long, and you only got to move over about 60 feet, and you'll get 8 or 10 or 12 gags.
Nice.
They're a little bit more, they're tougher.
Yeah.
And when you can land on the sweet spot, though, you just know you're going to get them.
Nice. So you're excited about the next few months.
I like it when the weather gets cooler.
Yeah.
The gags will be right up on the beach.
Yeah. We're looking forward to that. But that'll take time. I mean,
That
typically...
I would think it'll be the 1st of November before the water gets cold enough. But you guys will be able to start catching them in 19 feet of water west of Reddington.
Yeah.
A lot of good bottom right there, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of good bottom up there for sure. But as far as the 39 hours go, our next one is October 23rd. Then we got some in November, a ton of them in November. And by then, those gags will be really excited offshore, huh?
Yeah, we always do well. Anytime when the water starts to cool down, when we go through July and August, we're fortunate that July now is all red snapper season. Good for us.
Yeah.
The real awesome fishery we got going on there. Then when the water starts to cool down, the fish get friskier. And when you're not chasing the red snappers, you get more time to target the groupers.
Yeah, and it's last year we had a great gag bite.
We had an awesome gag bite this summer during red snapper season.
Incredible.
Yeah, best.
Yeah.
I think the fishery's coming back.
I think it was probably the best summertime gag bite that I can remember.
No doubt.
In the recent future or recent past.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah. All right, so what is your favorite bait for gag grouper?
I like live bait.
Yeah, big old live bait.
A big pinfish, if you can get a hold of some of the bigger pinfish, but you gotta, when you're getting your own bait, you gotta go someplace where everybody's not going. But it's hard to beat a big pinfish.
Yeah.
And a long leader.
Long leader, 6 footer.
6 foot minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what about hook size, leader strength?
If you're targeting a big gag, you want to have 80-pound test. A big gag, and I mean something that's getting close to 40 pounds.
Yeah.
You're not going to land him unless you've got 80-pound test, and you better have a 100-pound backbone on it. I mean, your line's got to be the guys that land the big fish are using the heavy tackle.
Yeah. 80, 100,
Yeah,
125.
and every once in a while you get these dinosaurs. You'll see the commercial guys come in with jumbo fish that are almost impossible to land on a rod and reel.
Yeah.
The reason they catch them is because they're just using super heavy tackle.
Yeah.
So the guys with the big tackle
Catch the big fish.
catch the big fish.
Big tackle, big bait, and big patience.
And be patient.
Yeah, you got to soak that bait. They don't. The big ones are smart.
With a live bait, if you drop it down and just don't move your lead,
Yeah.
you'll get a gag out of there. But if you try to pick it up and set it back down, you're going to spook that gag.
Yeah. So one of the most impressive things that I can remember, my dad and I did a lot of scuba diving when I was younger. And one of the coolest things that I ever remember is we went down there and set a chum block out in front of a ledge, and the big gag that was on the ledge immediately started circling way far out in the distance. You could hardly see him. All the pinfish came out, then the gray snapper came out, then the mangrove showed up, and the gag just circled and got closer and closer with time. But it was 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
The chum block was almost gone.
He didn't get big being silly.
Yeah, and he finally came in, circled tighter and tighter, and then finally just made a dart for it and just swallowed it whole, what was left of it. It was really impressive. And that is a great example of what you're talking about.
Right.
You got to hook that bait so it's presented naturally. You got to have the right tackle, and you have to have the right reel and rod.
And you have to be patient.
Patient. Soak that bait. Because that lead moving on the bottom, I mean...
Yeah, if you pick it up and try to reset it, you just wasted the 7 or 8 minutes that you were standing there. If you'd have held on for 4 or 5 more minutes, you'd have had that big gag.
And that is not my game. I do not like sitting still.
I have no patience.
Me neither. Especially out there on those 39-hour trips. I mean, fishing for mangrove snapper with a double snell rig and 40, 50-pound test. That's my favorite. You drop down, and if you don't get a bite in 3 minutes...
your bait's gone.
Yeah.
Reel it back up and rebait it. You can... There's times when they're chewing, you can put 7 or 8 fish at your feet right now. And just go, go, go.
And there's sometimes you don't even have to wait for the bite. Once you catch 3 or 4, you know how quick they're biting. You can almost count it down.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. Mangrove fish, the fishery's still pretty strong. I like catching the mangroves.
Yeah, I think that is my favorite fish to target personally.
Because they're aggressive, so you can get aggressive with them.
Yeah.
You're not pond fishing or bridge fishing, waiting for the fish. You know the fish is coming. You got to be ready for him.
And you're exciting because it's such a quick bite. You're using lighter tackle. It's fun. I like mangrove fishing. But gags are cool. Catching that big gag.
Getting the big one. We had Charlie Vinoy, right?
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah, what a monster gag. He's got it all over his face. I'm tired of seeing the picture. But it's a big fish.
Yeah.
And you've got one chance maybe to catch a fish like that.
It's a trophy fish of a lifetime.
For sure.
Yeah. Beautiful.
He's still grinning.
He's probably smiling right now that we're talking about it.
He might be.
Your suggestions. So what are your suggestions for catching more fish on a 39-hour trip?
Keep your bait wet.
Keep your bait wet. Fish hard.
Fish hard.
Don't party on the way out.
Don't party on the way out. Have a couple beers. Go to bed.
Don't be like me.
I'm going to have you up for 20 hours.
Yep.
You're going to stand at the rail. If you want the most fish, you have to definitely fish all night. Because you've got a chance to have a 2-day bag limit of the vermilion snappers, the porgies, and the mangrove snappers. That could be a ton of fish. Mm-hmm. Stay up, fish all night. Just because you're not getting them on one stop, the next stop might be yours.
Yeah. And the next stop might be the game changer.
And you want to always fish sun up, and you maybe even want to fish, it's been hot out, fish until it gets hot.
Yeah.
And then take you a nap, a little 90-minute nap, maybe while we're running from one spot to another, and then start soaking out your bigger baits.
Yeah, during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. And what is your number one tip for someone going out deep? If you're going deep water fishing, what is the one thing you don't want to forget, the one thing you want to do?
Bring enough lead.
Bring enough lead.
You never know what the current's doing. Sometimes you get out there deep. It's hard to keep a 10 or 12 ounce lead on the bottom. And if you can't drop your bait straight down, then the captain better park the boat up tide. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we'll do that. You're throwing some Kentucky windage into the mix because if I park the boat way up here and the leads are hitting the rock, then we're good. But if you try to park on the spot and everybody's fishing behind the spot, the fish don't turn around. Yeah. They're heading upwind. You know, they got their nose up current. Your bait needs to be up in front of them. Behind them, it's tough.
Yeah, and that's the biggest trick and the biggest secret left between all these trolling motors that hold you over the spot. With all
better hold you in front of the spot if you don't have enough lead.
C-map charts, strike line charts, all these new fancy bottom machines. That's the biggest trick, is making sure your bait's on the spot, not the boat.
Not the boat.
That is a definite key. So what's the biggest mistake that you see people make out there?
Letting out too much line. The deeper you go, the harder it is to tell when your lead hits the bottom, because your line weighs too. So when you're trying to drop 500, 600, 700 feet, the deep drop trips 6, 7, even we've anchored as deep as 960, and I don't know if we're fishing that deep anymore. But when you go deep, the biggest thing is to have enough lead that you know when you hit the bottom, especially on a party boat.
Yeah.
Because you've got 12 guys on that side of the boat that are all dropping. All it takes is one guy who keeps letting line out.
Yep.
And it's almost always expensive braid. Cost you $40 to load that reel, and it's going to get cut, and you're going to have to load it again.
Yep.
That's the biggest deep water mistake.
Making sure that you're holding bottom.
Don't let out too much line. Don't let it keep going.
Hit the bottom,
Stop.
lock it off.
That's right.
All right. So with that, I think it is time to give away a free trip. We're going to give away our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. And remember, if you're picked as the lucky winner, you got to text that phone number in the upper right-hand corner within 5 minutes with your home address to claim that free trip. So if you're picked as a lucky winner, you got to text us at that phone number, and you got to claim it within 5 minutes to prove you were watching live. So let's see who won a free 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Lucky winner is Adrian David from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Adrian David. So make sure, again, Adrian, you text us in about 5 minutes to claim that free trip. We still got our 10-hour all day for 2 guests. We still got that 39-hour to give away too. But we got a lot more questions for you, Captain Brian. They're pouring in. What's the best rig for catching mangrove snapper?
I like a double hook snell rig.
That's the best. Double snell, and it's right there on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, scroll down to the fishing video links, and under fishing video links, you'll find that fishing tips and tricks page. We just redid the fishing tips and tricks page a little bit ago and added a bunch more of our Salt Strong Friends videos. And the how to tie a double snell rig is the first video under the rigging tips section. So make sure you watch that video. And then there's also a how to rig a double snell to show you how to bait it. Because once you got a double snell rig, it's also tricky to make sure you have it hooked right too. You want that bait presented naturally.
That's true. And different people from different places that fish different. Yeah. We get a lot of tourists that want to load their bait up with their hook up with a ton of bait. Yeah. And I get it. That's how they do it at home, but that's not how we do it here.
Yeah.
A good trick is to watch somebody who does it all the time.
Yeah.
Whoever the local fisherman is, he's the one who knows how to catch the fish. Use his whatever he's using.
And that's the coolest part about party boat fishing to me is whether you're party boat fishing in the Northeast, on the East Coast of Florida, the West Coast of Florida, California, when you go out in a party boat, you have that opportunity to learn from someone like Captain Brian, from someone like John Martin, from someone...
Or your mates. Or your mates are out there fishing every day, you know. Use whatever they're using and you will catch more fish.
Yep. Watch the people who are catching fish and imitate.
And if you're not catching, say something right away because we're here to help you.
Yeah.
We're going to teach you how to catch a mangrove snapper.
Yeah.
And you're going to love it.
And it's an advanced angler's trip, so they're not going to come up and baby you and say, hello, sir or ma'am, do you need help tying that knot? It's not that type of trip, but it can be if you ask.
If you're struggling, let us know right away because we can turn it right around.
Yeah.
And just give you just a couple tips. Bang, you're catching fish, and then you're having a good time, and we're having a good time. I expect you guys, all you guys, to make me look good. So, come on.
You got to ask. So, you've been known to grab a rod and go fish by someone who needs help. And I've seen you take someone who doesn't know what they're doing or who is struggling and turn them into the one who's catching the most.
I've done well trying to help out. I've had two fellas, not real recently, but like in the last 7 months, we're on an overnight trip. Everybody around them's catching fish. They're not catching fish. It's like, well, reel them up, guys. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
So first, their hooks were a little big. I grabbed the first guy's rig. I tied him a double snell and showed him how to hook the bait and told him exactly what to do when he gets it to the bottom. So he's dropping it down. Now I'm rigging his buddy. Before I can get his buddy tied up, this guy listened to the tips and tricks. He pulls up a mangrove snapper. They hadn't caught one in an hour and 20 minutes, and now they're both
catching them.
Yeah.
Tandem.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
There's nothing better than watching that expression, too, when it kind of the light bulb goes off and they get it. They get it, and they see that rod bend, and even a grown man, you see that just light up.
Probably why I've been doing it so long, because you get used to that adrenaline.
Yeah.
Everybody has to love hooking a fish.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's almost more fun to help someone like that learn than it is almost doing it yourself. Close.
I don't eat much fish.
Yeah.
I'd rather hook one and hand it off to the little kid next to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I still enjoy eating anything. Thus the difference between us. All right, next question. I know it's not a good subject, but how do you still have mask mandates even after the governor said no mask mandate? I don't care if you talk about it on the show, just wanted your thoughts. We have a mask mandate in Pinellas County. So Pinellas County has a mask order. The governor did not say you don't have to wear a mask anymore. What the governor said was we're in phase 3, which effectively lifts all restrictions on capacities for hospitality businesses like restaurants and ourselves. So we don't have to restrict capacities anymore unless a business chooses to. We're not choosing to. And as far as masks go, the mask mandate in Pinellas County was inside in public areas, so only our office do you have to wear masks. But the governor says there's no fines, there's no anything that they can do to enforce it. So basically, how it's been is, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Don't ask us, and we're done talking about masks.
Dylan, please, wear a mask.
Yeah. You've got a mask around your neck right now. You're just used to wearing it at this point.
Goes good with my outfit.
Yeah, it does match. You just like riding around in your truck masked up.
Yeah, that's not me, bro.
No face, no case. All right, setting and adjusting your drag. How do you know when you have it right? Can you damage your reel if you max out the drag all the time? Brian?
A lot of your drag depends on what fish you're targeting.
Yep.
If you're targeting a 5-pound fish, a mangrove snapper, your drag's not going to be set as tight as if you're trying to target a big grouper. A lot of it depends on that. With a mangrove snapper, I'm thinking, I like the star drags. A lot of the new 2-speed reels have a different style drag. You can't set it on the fly.
I hope and pray one day in the near future, it's freaking 2020. Yeah. I hope and pray that we have a 2-speed reel in star drag.
Yeah.
This should have already been done.
If you can pull your line out with a little difficulty for mangrove for a 5 to 10 pound fish, if you can pull some line out, your drag's good.
Yeah.
If you're trying to catch a big fish, you should almost not be able to pull your drag out by hand.
Yeah.
It should be locked down pretty tight. I don't know if you damage them locking them down hard. A lot of it depends on the reel too. Are you using a strong expensive reel.
Yeah.
It's going to have a better drag than a cheaper reel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Our guys, we use our stuff every day. We wear out an expensive reel.
Yeah.
Fast. You know?
Yeah. The trick for me is, in my understanding of it, is you don't want to store your reel with that drag locked down.
Okay.
But you can definitely use the full drag. It's not going to hurt the reel locking the drag down while you're fishing. But if you go home and leave that reel locked down for 6 months in your garage, those drag washers will actually get compressed and the drag integrity over time goes down. So you don't want to store it with your drag locked, but you can definitely lock it down while you're fishing. Grouper fishing, for example, is more of a lockdown drag. Amberjack, you want a little bit of drag. You want to let them run a little bit. And mangrove snapper, like 60-70% drag is all you need. But it's tricky. There's no one good answer because it depends on your reel.
The good answer is to loosen your drag if you're going to store the rod.
Yes.
That's the answer.
Yeah. There you go. Someone said I was on Facebook having trouble getting on the show. We were having trouble getting the show started. That was the problem. But luckily we got it. Are recording devices allowed on a 39-hour trip? I assume you're talking about a video recording device. So you're allowed to bring digital cameras. You can bring a GoPro, but I gotta mess with your GoPro before and after the 39-hour trips. So yes, we do allow digital cameras. We do allow GoPros, but they have to be turned in before and after each trip. No GPS type devices, no recording devices in that sense of the word. But I don't really understand the question. But if you're talking about a video camera, go for it, as long as you don't mind turning it in before and after. How many old fishing tickets can you use at one time for $5 off a future trip? We only accept one per person. So our green tickets, when you come out with us, they are good for $5 off your next trip, but you can only redeem one per person per trip. On a new moon, what can I expect to catch on a 12-hour extreme trip? So new moon fishing, full moon fishing, the old rules of thumb. What's your take on it?
I'm not a big fan of full moon fishing.
Yeah.
Because it makes the bite tomorrow more difficult.
Yeah.
And I've always done better with a piece of the moon, or I like new moon.
Yeah.
A new moon fishing, depending on your depth and the boat that you're on, when you turn your deck lights on, you are the moon.
That's a good point.
You're lighting up the bottom. The fish can see the bait coming. They can see the bait coming down because of all your deck lights. I generally do well when I'm not competing with the moon.
So a new moon night fishing on, say, like the Florida, when we've got those big floodlights going on and we're fishing in 100, 120 foot of water, that light can penetrate to the bottom, you think?
Close as much as the moon can.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a good point. You got me there.
I don't think it has that much to do with tides. It's always check your chart. There's always a good time and a bad time to be fishing.
Yeah. I was talking to someone on the phone. They were booking a 39-hour charter. It was Calvin Lugo, who does a lot of 39-hour fishing, and he has his own commercial boat. He was telling me that he doesn't like last quarter. He likes first quarter. And first quarter or a full moon for catching grouper. I was like, what? That doesn't make much sense. To me, a full moon fishing is fun for me because I like that snapper bite at night. I'd be happy having a really good night bite and almost not catching anything to the day because I get out there and I just want to relax and decompress. I'm fine with watching a movie in the galley with Tammy during the day. But I like that full moon night bite. It's awesome. But I think it's true. I can remember having really good trips on a full moon and really good trips on a new moon. I think it comes down to when you're available to go fishing. The best time to go fishing is when you can.
Right, every time.
Exactly. And where do you catch them? Right in the corner of the mouth.
Almost always.
To answer your question, what can you expect to catch on a new moon on a 12-hour extreme? You could expect to catch the same things we catch anytime on the 12-hour extreme. I think a new moon brings better day fishing generally.
I think you get a better daytime bite. It's the same theory that with the new moon, that all the fish are up feeding all night. So by 9 o'clock in the morning, their bellies are full.
By a full moon, you mean?
Right, with a full moon.
Yeah.
So you have to wait for them to digest their belly. They're going to take a nap. They're like, you eat a big belly full, you got to take a nap.
Almost did before the show.
And it makes for a tougher bite until later in the day when it's time for them to feed again.
Yeah.
And if a new moon, or a full moon. A full moon is really a full moon once, but it's full, almost full for days.
Yeah, 4 or 5 days.
Binging at night and not eating during the day. And I found that to be true a lot. You catch one in the morning and their bellies are just packed.
Yeah, their scales stick out because they're so full. And then at new moon, the opposite is true. Their feeding is a little bit more condensed during the daytime hours.
Yeah, because they're not moving around as much at night.
Yeah, because the predators are out.
Yeah, they're not going to stray far when the predators are out. That's when it's more important to land right on the spot.
Yeah.
Because they won't come to you, maybe.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting their baits to them.
Right.
Do you prefer an incoming or outgoing tide, or does it matter? So one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, is I've heard it before, people were like, well, the calendar I saw only had a low fishing chance for that day, so I don't want to book that trip. And it's like, what calendar are you looking at, man? the calendars, the incoming, outgoing tides and all that stuff has to do with inshore fishing.
If you're at the inlet, it would make a difference. If you're 10 miles offshore, it makes no difference.
Yeah, and there's no calendar that has offshore areas like that marked out, unfortunately. It's tricky. Comes with years of experience, and we still are just making educated guesses.
It worked last time.
You should have been here yesterday.
And free beer tomorrow. Yeah.
Not a question, but a shout out to both of you. Captain Brian ran both trips I have been on. Thank you for a great experience. My son, first trip, my wife on the second, loved them. That's cool, man. People love you, even though you hate people. As I get my gear ready for November and December, I usually beef up on heavier fishing tackle in those months because of the gag bite. But with heavier tackle, I don't get the mangrove bite as often. So my question is, fluorocarbon disappears in the water. Will it still hurt the mangrove bite if I go to 80-pound fluoro? So to me, I think fishing at night, I would probably go a little lighter, like 50 to 60-pound fluoro, and then maybe during the day, fish a little heavier, like 60, 80 pounds with some bigger baits. What do you think, Brian?
I think if you're targeting the smaller fish, and especially the mangrove bite, it can be a real light bite. And if you're using 80-pound, you're using an awful heavy leader to try to feel a real light bite.
Yeah.
I've done well with 60, and I've landed some real nice groupers with 60. Put 60 on one rod and put 80 on the other, and use the other one after, right at sunup, even right when you see it starting to get pink into the east, then switch to the heavier rod.
Yeah.
Unless the guys around you are catching gags, and then switch to the big rod early.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's a heavy leader to feel a light bite is difficult.
Yeah, I always recommend starting heavier. So fishing for mangroves in a perfect world, I'd be using 30, 40-pound leader. But offshore, you really can't get away with 30. The lightest I use is 40 unless the bite is really tough. So 40 is basically where I start. But my rule of thumb is if gags are open, I start no less than 50 to 60.
60 is good when gags are open. And 60 is okay for the mangroves. But July and August, when the water's hot and the fish are lazy, that's when light tackle is king. I've got heavy hands. I can't use less than 40. I break them off every time.
Yep.
But the guys that are good at using 25 or 30 are kicking my butt.
Yeah, the light tackle gurus.
Yeah.
But I would agree that 60 is basically the upper bounds of what you would want to use for mangrove snapper fishing.
I would agree.
Next question, are hogfish biting yet? We're starting to catch the hogfish. The hogfish bite, I would say, is starting to turn on. Starting to catch them more often on the half days and all days, but hasn't gotten crazy yet, but it should be soon.
They start to group up in the fall, and it's almost October. The bite's going to get continually better until we run into real crappy weather in February.
Yep, I would agree.
I would expect
completely.
it to get better every week.
Yep, better and better, and it's getting nicer and nicer weather-wise too.
Oh, it's gorgeous out now.
We just, unfortunately, in the state of Florida, it doesn't get cooler without bringing some bad weather. So, for example, this week we get a cold front there Tuesday night, Wednesday, which is going to bring some wind and some bad weather midweek around Tuesday night, Wednesday. And we have some prefrontal activity, so rain chances are higher tomorrow and Tuesday. But that cooler weather is on the way for sure, and we're looking forward to it.
Less humidity.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Don't have to worry about stuff salting up on you too much. I just purchased a Daiwa Saltiga 2-speed LD50. That is my favorite reel. Hopefully you got it from us because we got a ton of them, and we'll make you a good deal. But what rod would you pair it with for grouper fishing? So that Saltiga is a great all-around reel, and we have the perfect custom rod for it right in our office. That custom Bull Bay rod is really nice. That light green wrapped, I think it's a 50 to 80. It's really, really nice. So come by the shop. I'll show you what pairs well with that Daiwa Saltiga. And thank you guys for sending all the stars. DeNorris Hall is hitting us hard tonight.
DeNorris, all right.
Yeah, look at all those stars.
When you coming fishing? 23rd.
He was talking earlier. That was the one about the November and December trips.
Yeah, he better be here the 23rd.
He's excited. Gabe is always shooting us a ton of stars. Appreciate you, buddy.
Oh, yeah, I'm taking off in November and going Tortugas trip with Gabe.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
I didn't tell him yet, but he asked me if I was going.
That does sound like fun. I want to do one of those long-range tuna trips in California. I was supposed to do one for my 21st birthday, but
went to Vegas instead.
No, it got canceled because of a hurricane. And I was real upset, so we ended up taking the hub out and shooting guns all day. And then I got hammered drunk. Don't remember anything that night, but it was fun. After we put the guns away, of course. Hello from Dayton, Ohio. We love Captain Brian. We've been out with him a few times. He always tells us a joke and gets the kids to have a great time on the boat. You always are good about getting the kids up in the wheelhouse and driving the boat and stuff. Everybody loves Captain Brian.
I got them all fooled.
Where do we have to fish to have a shot at a true black grouper? Not a gag, but a true black. How many are out there? I don't know, man. They're true blacks. They're mean.
They are mean, and that's the guy with the heavy tackles going to have a chance to catch the fish. And there's a bigger concentration of them further south than Johns Pass. You really, if you get down there west of Naples and to the west, you will catch a true black.
Have a chance.
You will have a chance. and I've done real well just west of Fort Jefferson in that 95, 100 feet of water. A lot of the juvenile true blacks.
The ones you can actually
land. Ones you can actually land.
Yeah.
The last one I caught with real heavy tackle, 88 pounds.
Wow.
You'd never land an 88-pounder with 60-pound test. I'm sorry, ever.
125-pound test, maybe.
Yeah, and you might get him. Yeah.
I'll never forget, I think Will had a 56-pounder.
I got the cheeks off of that fish.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful true black.
Those cheeks were this big around and that thick. Kara hates me because I got the cheeks.
I'll never forget my uncle's fish, Uncle Jeff, when he ran the overnight trip. That true black is still hanging in the restaurant. That, I think, is still the boat record for grouper. It was 105 pounds. Monster true black. It is time. We're getting carried away here. It is time to give away our 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. So let's see who won that 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Remember, if you get picked as that lucky winner, you have to claim it within about 5 minutes. Edith Black, congratulations on your free 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. Edith Back, excuse me. Keep in mind, guys, in order to win those free trips, you do have to have commented on the Hubbard's Marina live Facebook video. The first 25 minutes or so of the show, and then we cut it off because we want to make sure people are watching the whole show, and you got to claim it within about 5 minutes to prove you're still watching the show. So that's the trick. We try to make it a little bit difficult to make it fair for those who watch the whole show. So let's see here. What questions do we have left here? We're running out of time. Brian's got to be up at 5 a.m. to go to Tarpon Springs?
I get up at 5.
Get up at 5. He's heading out early. I got to get up early too. But I've got the National Marine Fisheries meeting for the next 3 days.
Oh, yeah. Yippee.
And I got a county meeting tomorrow with the state of Florida representatives and the congressional representative to talk about that dang sand behind our office. Hoping and praying that this meeting tomorrow isn't a political stunt to get him reelected. Hopefully,
yeah, do something.
Hopefully, this is actually to try to help us, but we'll find out. Do you offer private day trips for a family of 5? Yes, we have a ton of private fishing charter options on the Hub and Flying Hub 2. And after the show, I'll text you some more information on our private fishing charters. Hi, I know the weather is hard to predict, but when is the extreme trip canceled? How much warning do you get in advance? Well, the weather is exactly that, hard to predict, and the extreme trip is very weather sensitive. So what I always recommend to people is if you're flying in just to go fishing, I would strongly recommend you thinking more towards a 39-hour trip, because it takes some serious weather to have to cancel a 39-hour trip. Whereas a 12-hour extreme trip, if it's 3-foot seas, we got to cancel, because you can't go 40 miles an hour, 70 miles from shore in 3-foot seas. Whereas the Florida fishermen, too, they can go 100 miles from shore, and you've taken it out in 14-foot seas.
It's a tough boat, and it's a great platform to fish on. Sometimes it's harder to get to the spot than it is to fish when you get there. Mm-hmm. But once you drop the anchor on the Florida, man, it's just like fishing off the sidewalk. What a great ride.
It is a beautiful boat. I wholeheartedly adore that boat, and it's very, very weather resistant. Whereas the Flying Hub 2, smaller, faster boat, is very weather prone and weather dependent. So if you want to go out there and guarantee a trip, or at least have a better shot at taking a trip, the 39 hours is the way to go.
And you get your 2-day bag limit, and I'll be happy to see you.
Yeah, exactly. The 12-hour extreme is a great trip, don't get me wrong, but you have to come into it with the understanding that it's a go-fast trip on a small 46-foot boat. If it's at all adverse, that trip cannot go out. So a lot of people have been getting upset this September when we cancel trip after trip, but it's not something we want to do. It's something we got to do. The weather is just that. The weather, it's uncontrollable. So definitely keep that in mind, especially this time of year. October, November, December is great for gag grouper fishing offshore, but the weather is, she's fickle this time of year.
We only cancel one overnighter, one 39-hour trip maybe a year. So you've got a good chance of making up an overnight trip.
I don't know about that though. This year, January, remember?
Yeah. This has been a tough year.
This has been a very tough year. We had an extremely bad weather event in January and February. Then we got hit with COVID in March. Then we came into June and July. We actually had a pretty good summer. I think we only had 1 week of bad weather there. But then we get into September. It'd been tropical event after tropical event.
We've made like no trips basically in September. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been tough for sure. What are the reasons for catching sharks? Are they edible? Most people don't catch and keep their sharks anymore. It was way more popular back in the day. And what we were talking about earlier with big sharks is commercial fishing for sharks. There's a huge commercial market because people love eating sharks in restaurants. Me personally, I would never ever kill a shark to eat it. Not because they don't taste good, but because they're a pain in the ass.
We don't want to board a shark and risk somebody getting hurt.
Yeah, and the fact that they urinate through their skin, so you kill them and throw them in your fish box, and they stink. They smell like almost rotten meat. You got to prepare them, cut the head, gut them, bleed them. Then when you get them home, you got to soak the meat. You got got to really work to eat a shark.
Any more of the guys that catch a shark, it's just for the sport.
Yeah.
You try to land a bigger shark than your buddy on with a smaller rod.
Yep. And then you let it go after you take some photos, and you go catch a snapper or grouper to eat.
That's right.
Let's see here. What is the next question? Learned via Google what venting a fish was. Getting ready for my third fishing trip with you guys. This one on the hub. But we don't use that term much here in Notre Dame country. Yes, venting fish is super important. In the summertime, especially when the water is hot, if you're fishing past 70, 80, 90 foot of water, a lot of times you got to vent your fish. In the winter and in the fall here in Florida, when the water's cooler, you can fish up to 100, 110, even 120 foot of water when the water's really cold, and you might not need to vent those fish. So the crew and captains will help you kind of keep an eye on that. You really need a venting tool on our 39 and 44-hour trips. 12-hour extreme trips, you don't need them. The hub doesn't fish deep enough to need them ever. So basically, Flying Hub 2, you should use a venting tool, but the crew and captain got you covered. The Florida fishermen on the 39 and 44 hours, that's when you need a venting tool. Captain crew will show you how to do it and teach you how to use them, but you got to be the one to do it. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Do the captains alternate on the 39-hour trip, or is it the same captain all the time? I feel like this year it's been the same captain all the time.
Captain Garrett and I generally try to do it 50-50.
Yeah.
I did a bunch more during snapper season, but discounting snapper season, we keep it pretty close to 50-50.
But Captain Garrett's having a baby girl tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Wow.
Captain Garrett Hubbard is adding a third child to his family, so big congratulations to Garrett and his wife Carrie Ann. Yep, tomorrow's the day.
You have to have a second captain because then you're fishing different stuff.
Yep.
Everybody fishes a little bit different and it helps.
And that's the coolest part about it is the alternating captains. And again, going back to what I said earlier, is we're so blessed to have such a great team. Every captain has a little bit different style. And it's always kind of comical to me to hear people say, oh, like occasionally I'll take a phone call where this person is really upset because of this captain and the way he ran the boat. And then the next day I'll get a phone call from another person who says they really like this captain because the way he runs the boat. And it's the same captain that was complained about yesterday by this person that was complaining about what this person was saying they loved. So it's always so interesting, the dynamic there. But that's the good part about it is you can find the captains you like and stick with them.
And go fishing with them.
Yeah.
Sure, happens all the time.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people that like fishing with one captain that don't like fishing with another, but you gotta go fishing a lot to get that down. So lots of stars coming in to Norris Hall, still hitting us.
Norris.
Chris Fink.
Tell Gene bring his butt down here too, Norris.
There you go. What is your favorite fish to fish for? We talked about that earlier, kind of mangrove snapper with gag grouper as a close second. Let's see here. I want to target gag on the next trip.
Last time she told me she wanted to target amberjacks, and we wore her out catching these monster jacks. Now she just wanted all, Estelle.
She's the fish hog.
Oh man, she hammered the jacks last time. The first one she caught was as big as her.
She caught like 6 amberjacks.
And the next one was bigger.
Look at that. She said, I hope to fish with you again, Captain Brian. She sent a photo of fishing next to Captain Brian. Man, people really do love you, man. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
I got him fooled. Don't ask again.
This is the one-time event. It's like seeing a unicorn or a Yeti. Do you need to bring different size poles on a 10-hour trip, or is just one okay? I think it's okay to bring one rod on any of our trips. We definitely recommend different size leaders and different approaches for different species. And some advanced anglers will bring 100 rods. Not really, but
It
an
seems like
exaggeration.
it.
Yeah, it seems like it. Some people will bring a lot of rods to target each individual species. Like on a 10-hour trip, I would bring like a high-speed 4/0 reel with 40 to 50-pound test, and then I might bring a spinning rod with 30-pound test for the lighter tackle stuff. So I would bring 2 rods on a 10-hour trip, but that's because I have a lot of rods and I want to bring a lighter rod for that slower time or to target those smaller fish. So it kind of depends on you and your experience level. Over time, you'll fall into where you feel most comfortable, but 1 rod will definitely work. It's about to be my first fall and winter fishing in the area. Any tips to transitioning seasons?
It'll be dry. You won't need your slickers.
That's a good point. It'll be a little chillier. You want to definitely wear layers and just beef up tackle for those fall gag groupers.
Yes, sir. Right on the beach.
What going out in the 39 hours, October 27th? What 2-speed reel should I bring for trolling? Something big. If you want to troll, definitely a big reel, like a 50 wide 2-speed. Really, an 80 wide 2-speed is best. The Shimano TLD 50 2-speed LRSAW we have in our shop, and that's a good reel to use, so you can always pick it up. Or bring something similar. Big reel is better for trolling on that 39-hour trip, because we don't slow down. It's a bottom fishing trip, not a trolling trip. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I'm watching you on Facebook and you keep freezing, so I'm not getting a good discussion. It's hard to follow the conversation. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully that's not the case for everybody. You can always watch on YouTube. I've heard a lot of people that have issues watching on YouTube, or issues watching on Facebook, have a better connection and better opportunity on YouTube. So you can always watch on YouTube if you have problems on Facebook. But is there good fishing in the winter, like the end of December? Yeah, I mean, there's good fishing all year round.
We fish year-round in Florida.
Yeah, it kind of more depends on the weather, don't you think?
It does depend more on the weather, but nothing ever really... We don't have too many seasonal fish besides the mackerel.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, reef fish, they're year-round.
Yeah, bite's good. Weather's good. You got time to go. It's a good time to be out there. What's your favorite way to hook live bait? In the corner of the mouth. It kind of depends on. It depends ultimately on how you're fishing that live bait, what you're trying to target with that live bait. One cool video that we added to our fishing tips and tricks page was the top 3 live bait rigging mistakes. So pretty cool little video here that we added to our fishing tips and tricks page. Again, under fishing trips, go to fishing video links and fishing tips and tricks. There's a bunch of cool videos on here, but definitely it depends on where you're fishing and what you're targeting. If you're fishing anchor fishing, typically anchor fishing, drift fishing, it doesn't matter. The most common way is up underneath the chin and out the top of the face, with the shank of the hook at the bottom of the fish and the barb of the hook coming out the top of the face. That's the most common way.
And that leaves a lot of hook hanging out of the fish to grab the fish.
Yeah.
That's the best way, especially when you're party boat fishing, when you're fishing next to 10 or 12 other people. On a private boat, you might want to hook them above their little anal fin.
Yep, tail hooking them.
Yeah, it's a tail hook. From the bottom, I get aggravated when I see guys that are hooking them through the top of their back.
Yeah.
Because that's a tangled up leader every time. You're not even fishing because you got a big knot.
Yeah, anal fin, just above the anal fin, like halfway down the anal fin.
But it's tough to do that. The fish can move around more, hook that way, which makes it difficult to do it on a party boat.
Yeah, and you got to drop it down slower.
And you have to drop it slow.
And it will drown the bait on the way to the bottom.
And through the chin